Welcome to the Generation Kids Daily Devo podcast, where we move from wonder to worship, looking for God at work in the world around us, ready to ask the tough questions and discover what His Word has to say to us. Today's episode is titled Fastballs and the Fear of God, and it comes from me, Casey Taylor. Have you ever had a hero? Not necessarily a superhero with otherworldly powers or anything like that. Just a person who, like you, calls this planet home and that you found to be remarkable in some way. Many people will rightly say their parents or a family member who made a big impact on their lives. And those are really the best kind because they're up close. You can reach out and interact with them. But I have to confess that my hero as a kid was, to me, somewhere in between the otherworldly and super and the close to home. He wasn't Superman, though he was a man who walked around in tight, stretchy pants. He didn't have superpowers, but he did throw a fastball with almost unrivaled speed, who at 45 years old could still hurl a 100-mile-an-hour fastball past other younger baseball players. My hero was a pitcher for the Texas Rangers baseball team named Nolan Ryan. I can vividly remember as a kid being able to arrive at Ranger Stadium early enough to run down the first baseline and stand within mere feet of Nolan as he warmed his arm up before he pitched. And that sound, you could literally hear the sizzle of the ball spinning at triple-digit speeds right up into the point that the leather of the catcher's mitt thwacked upon impact. I wanted to be just like Nolan when I grew up. And so you know what I did? I bought a VHS videotape where he showed you exactly how to grip the different pitches that he threw. He told you when was the best time to throw them, and I ate it up. I couldn't get enough. He had what I hoped for, and I knew that if I listened to him, I might be able to learn something about how he dominated the pitcher's mound. This week, we've been talking about wisdom and why it's important. Remember, wisdom is knowledge that we gain through experience, either our own experience or someone else's, that can help us make good decisions in the future. When it came to pitching, I watched that VHS tape hundreds of times to make sure my pitching grip was just right. When it comes to wisdom, Solomon, remember, David's son, points us to Proverbs 1:7.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding.
So the beginning, the starting place, the first brick in the building of a foundation of a life lived wisely is this: to fear the Lord. Which at first glance seems kind of scary, right? To fear God? What the Bible actually means is much more like how I thought of Nolan Ryan, but a billion times more so. To fear God means to be in awe of Him, to have a deep respect for how powerful and in control He is, to acknowledge and celebrate God's majesty and holiness. When we do this and combine it with what we've learned about who He is and what His character is like, Solomon tells us that we will truly have understanding and, you guessed it, wisdom. So let's build that out a little today. What about God is worthy of admiration and awe? How about the fact that Psalm 33:9 says that He, being God, spoke and what was not previously in existence came into being? He commanded and it was firmly established. So all of creation was made just by His speaking them into existence. What about the fact that God's glory and splendor was so powerful that even Moses couldn't look at God's face, because to see God's glory and to take it in would kill him? Again, Nolan stirred fear in the hearts of batters for 27 years in the big leagues, but mainly because a fastball could really injure you. Now think about how scary it would be to die looking at a guy on the mound before you hit, you wouldn't show up.
No, I'm not really feeling that.
These are just a couple of big examples that help us know more about who God is and about how great and mighty He is. Now, when you think about the big trials in your life, the things that could scare you or overpower you, do any of those scary things come close to a God who can create worlds with His mouth and with His words, or kill you with just a look? Now, when you also know what the Bible says about His love for you, like in Zephaniah 3:17, that the Lord your God is in our midst, a mighty one who will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you by His love, and He will exult over you with loud singing. We gain a more full understanding of who God is. He is mighty and He saves, but His love brings us peace and comfort because we know how strong He is. We know that no matter what happens to us, His love for us has shown Him use His strength and power over death to make a way for us to be with Him forever. When we see God this way, and when we trust that what the Bible says about God is true, we will want to learn all we can about who He is. We want to know Him more so that we can follow Him, just as I wanted to follow Nolan. But instead of outsmarting hitters, we'll learn how to live wisely in ways that bring us joy and freedom from worry. When we know who God is and what He's capable of, and we know that we are His, we will follow Him because we know that that's where real living is found. So as we continue on this week, make sure you start there, in awe of who God is, because it's the beginning of wisdom. Now it's time for
Today's Big Question!
Today's big question is, what other qualities or characteristics about God have blown your mind? There is so much to know and learn about God. Make sure you're sharing what you're learning with someone, because you never know what God might use you to show them or show you through them. Thanks for listening to the Generation Kids Daily Devo podcast. If you want to keep in touch with us on all our social media platforms, check out the links in the description. And if you'd like to help support us as we continue to create meaningful content for kids of all generations, please subscribe to our Patreon by visiting us at patreon.com/wearegenerationkids.